For as long as she could remember, Liora's life had been tied to the pond at the edge of her village, though most people never believed it was truly a pond at all. To them, it looked like a patch of mist forever, suspended above the grass, a shallow basin that exhaled vapor, even in the hottest summers. But Liora knew better, because within that shifting haze lived the vapor fish, a creature born on the same night as her, when a streaking comet left a silver trail across the sky. Her grandfather told her it was destiny, that the fish was her shadow twin, and if she nurtured it, it would grow alongside her. For 20 years she did exactly that. She knelt by the vapor waters each morning and sprinkled dew collected from wildflowers, watching as faint ripples stirred and translucent fins fluttered like ghostly sails. At night she sang lullabies into the fog, her voice soft enough to keep the fish calm, though sometimes she felt the weight of its gaze, shimmering blue just beneath the surface. Seasons passed, and as she grew taller, so too did the creature, until its leaps through the haze were large enough for travelers to catch glimpses of gleaming scales before it dissolved again into smoke. Word spread of the girl with the impossible fish, and strangers came from distant towns to witness the mystery, pressing coins into her palm and begging her to make it perform. For years she refused, guarding the secret as though it were her own soul, but curiosity and need wore her down, and at last she relented. If the fish longed to stretch its form before the world, then why not give it a stage? With threads of silver cloth and lanterns of colored glass, she built a circus tent above the pond, a shimmering dome that glowed at night like the belly of a firefly. Inside she prepared a ring, not of sand or sawdust, but of mist that rolled and breathed like living smoke. There, beneath the lantern light and the weight of countless eager eyes, Liora prepared for the first performance of the creature she had raised from nothing but vapor and devotion. The night of the grand unveiling arrived, and the silver circus tent blazed with lantern light as people crowded inside, their whispers weaving together like a restless tide of anticipation. Liora stood at the center of the mystery, her heart pounding with equal parts pride and unease, the vapor pond breathing steadily at her feet. When she lifted the glass flute to her lips and played a single, trembling note, the pond stirred, and the vapor fish rose, as though the music itself had summoned its soul. It soared above the audience in a luminous arc, its body unraveling into ribbons of silver fog, then coiling back into the form of a creature so radiant it drew gasps of awe from every throat. The fish twisted into impossible shapes, a dragon, spiraling around the lanterns, a storm unraveling across the ceiling, a halo of mist that hovered above the crowd before collapsing back into fin and tail. The applause thundered, yet in the pit of her chest, Liora felt a strange heaviness, for the fish's eyes no longer glowed the calm, familiar blue of her childhood, but burned instead with a hot, pale white like boiling steam. The music faltered, as she tried to steady her breath, but the fish circled her faster and faster, no longer a graceful performer, but a restless, hungry storm. Then, in a sudden plunge, it enveloped her, the vapor curling around her body with suffocating weight. At first, the audience thought it was part of the act, their cheers rising. But when her figure began to dissolve into mist, their voices broke into silence. Liora reached out a hand as though to command it back into gentleness, yet her outline blurred, her body melting into the creature's haze until she was gone entirely, swallowed in one breath. For a moment, the fish hovered above the ring, its form trembling as though filled with something too heavy, and then it sank back into the pond, leaving only a shivering ring of steam that lingered in the lantern glow. The crowd sat frozen, unable to clap, unable to leave, bound by the certainty that they had witnessed not a performance, but a devouring and ending dressed as spectacle.